Welcome, everybody. It is 11:04 on April 11th. We are recording this session. My name is Sandy Bozick. I am with the training department at CTR. And what we're going to go through today is if you're having your employees, they're struggling with logging in, or even yourself, if you're having problems logging in, what we're doing today is I'm going to go through some common login issues that we've seen over the past several weeks since the multi-factor enforcement, the multi-factor authentication has been enforced, and that happened on February 26th. I am also going to be monitoring the question and answers, so you can ask questions in there. I will try to respond to those as I see them coming in. And let's take it from here. So I'm going to go through some, as I mentioned, some common login issues, how you can work with your employees, supervisors, managers, or anybody in your office to help them with those. Also, I'm going to go through a few items that allow anybody using the system to set up a passwordless login functionality. Can utilize a third-party authenticator app to provide the verification codes instead of using email and/or text messaging. And just a very quick overview of the iSolved People Cloud app. And lastly, a change that was done for Tax Wizard if you have your employees going through onboarding, or if they have self-service and are using the ability to change their tax. Just a small change to that. Nothing with the functionality, more of just what needs to be enabled on the device that they're using. So first off, where we've seen a lot, and I mean a lot, of issues coming in are the users are using the incorrect website or URL. So anyone, including yourself, that would be accessing the classic view of iSolved, which is typically for the administrator's side. Again, that's what you would be using. And then any self-service users that are getting in and reviewing their information. The classic view is https://cohere.ctrhcm.com. If your system is enabled with the adaptive view of self-service, those are going to be employees that are using pretty much the same website, but just with /cloud service at the end. Any adaptive user, actually what happens for the adaptive website, it will redirect the employees back to a new website. Once they log in, it will redirect them back to https://aee.myisolved.com. So they're not wrong if you see that they're on that website. That's actually the new website where everybody goes to for the adaptive. So they could, in essence, use aee.myisolved.com in order to get to that adaptive website. So again, we've seen incorrect URLs since the enforcement of multi-factor authentication. All users, including yourself, including myself when I access iSolved, the website that it's going to redirect you initially to for logging in and verifying that you actually have an account and where you should be able to get directed to is going to take you to identity.myisolved.com. So in that particular case, it's used for login purposes, and really in order to kind of alleviate incorrect URLs for adaptive, what we're suggesting is to just have the employees download the iSolved People Cloud app. The iSolved People Cloud app was officially released back in October of last year, October-November timeframe. Previously, we had the adaptive users. We gave some instructions on how to download the website to your phone to look like an app, but it was really just a quick way to get to the website. So to eliminate that the employee is using on their mobile device, for example, the wrong website, what we're suggesting and having everybody do is to download that app. I also have on the screen here, and I can send out quick guides for everybody to be able to post the QR codes that you see on the screen here, so it's quicker for them to just snap it with their picture and access that apps directly. The next issue that we've seen is the employee, the user, I'll say user, is using the incorrect email address to access their information. The login screen shows, as you see here on the PowerPoint here, and highlighted in yellow, that this is typically it is the work email address. This work email address it says typically, it's not necessarily the case for all users. Some clients are using work email addresses, some clients are using personal email addresses. So we've seen an influx of incorrect email addresses being used for this reason as well. The employees, the users have saved that information on their desktop, it's auto-filling, or it's saved, so they see that, and whenever they are using the new login screen, they don't remember if it was their email address for work or a personal email address. So one of the things is just to make sure that if an employee, if somebody comes in, a user is having problems, that's the next thing that you want to check, making sure that they're using the correct email address. And I'm sure all of you have been responsible for doing this at one point or another. How do you change the self-service email for those users? So it's a very quick process. The first thing you're going to do is go to the general screen for that person, and you're going to unselect on the right-hand side under the self-service information section, this section over here. You're going to unselect the Enable Self-Service Access option and then hit Save. Once you do that, it opens up or allows the self-service email to be edited. Then the next step is to do just that. Change that email, edit the email, reselect the Enable Self-Service option, and then click Save. Once you do that, that has changed now the employee's email address, or fixed it if it was spelled incorrectly, or maybe the employee or the user is no longer with the company and you're changing it from their work to their personal email. A few questions have come through. So one from Dawn. Thank you very much for that. She asked if the slides will be available afterwards. Absolutely. The recording and the slides and any quick guides that I mentioned, we'll get those sent out to you guys as well. Okay. Another question and comment from Jamie. She said, my organization was having the opposite issue. The correct web address was not working for employees and the incorrect web address works for our employees. Thank you for that information. I kind of like to know a little bit more on that, so maybe I'll reach out. I'm not sure when you say the incorrect web address, maybe we can talk about that, or if you can add additional information on to what you mean by that. I think that's the questions for now, or comments. One of the next issues that we've seen is when you have a user, they may see an option that says multi-tenant. If this happens, and maybe you might not have known that it happened, maybe your employee has, or your user has tried a few of these and then finally got to the one that works and they start using that. But if you have a user that gets this, always make sure that they use and choose the one that says CTRSY. Now, why does this happen? Why do you have employees or users or yourself that gets this multi-tenant option? Well, what we've identified for the reason for this is if you have had previously, or if your user had previously gone out and just did a Google search, for example, for iSolved, and found the iSolved specific instance of their application. So they have iSolved uses a different website. Maybe they went out there, they registered their email thinking that they had to. Then when they logged in, it said you don't have access. Or maybe they had downloaded another iSolved app that was not the People Cloud app, because iSolved does have a few different options out there. So in those cases, that user actually registered for other products or other partners, in that case, with iSolved. This is something that is going to be rectified. iSolved is working, or the iSolved development team is working to get this addressed. It's taking a little bit extra time. There was more information that needed to be verified before they could just simply get rid of that. But what's going to happen is if the user actually does not have access to those other tenants, then it won't even be an option. So they'll just be directed right in. The next item is an employee has, or a user has, an incorrect mobile number. So whenever the user is trying to get a verification code, or is trying to log in with that, it's showing an incorrect mobile number, or maybe there's not a mobile number on the account. As administrators of the system, the assumption was that, or maybe there was an assumption, some not, that you as administrators have access to assign a mobile number to that employee's account by simply going into the general screen for the employee and going down to the section that says contact information and using the mobile number or the mobile phone value in there to update. Unfortunately, that is not the case. That contact information that you see on the general screen is for your ability to call them with that mobile number, or maybe a supervisor or manager to know how to contact them. That number actually does not get updated automatically with what you put in there. CTR actually has access to the administrative portal on the security side of the accounts. So if you have an employee that has an incorrect mobile number, or maybe they changed their phone number and they're unable to get in, you can call CTR. We can get that changed for them. So just reach out to your support rep and we'll be able to get that done for you. For security reasons, this isn't something that's allowed to be done on the general screen. We don't want somebody to be able to go into that mobile number and just update it in order to get verification codes sent to a mobile number that might not be theirs. So there is a security factor for that. Now, the employee, the user, can actually manage the mobile number that's assigned to their account, or setting up and changing their password and setting up their security question and answer, or changing any of that, along with some other features such as, and I'll talk a little bit later about this, the passwordless login and the authenticated app, or using a third-party authenticator. So they have access to do this on their own. Where can you do that? And again, this affects you as well because you are a user in the system. So if they're using self-service using the adaptive website or on their PC, or if they're using the People Cloud app, they're going to go in the top right-hand corner and they're going to go to the 3 pink dots, as you see here on the screenshot, and go into the profile. If they're in the classic view, or if you're a administrator in the classic view, they're going to go in the top left-hand corner under the little pink. They're going to choose that option and go into the My Account option. Either way, the employee gets to this My Account screen, and in which case they can use the change option on the right-hand side for each of the options. And in this case, if they're going to change their mobile number, then they'll select the change mobile number. They'll go into the mobile number option, make sure they select the country code if they're, US code, any other country designation is there as well, and then put in their mobile number, save that information. Now, just because they put in the mobile number doesn't mean that that is now going to be used for sending verification codes. One of the next things that they have to do is use this Confirm Now option in order for the system to send out a verification code to the mobile number. And at that point, they'll enter that verification code in order to confirm that they own that phone number. They can also change their security question and answer from the My Account or the profile option whenever they're putting it in to the screen here. It's going to ask them for their current password, just like any website that you go to or any platform that you can't change something without knowing your current password, for example, just in case somebody's accidentally or purposely accessing your PC or your phone. If anybody here on our webinar today is set up in the system at your organization, you're using something called single sign-on. The information around the security question and answer and password information is not stored in the account because it's single sign-on. It's not actually something that's set up in the back end for iSolved. So this does not apply to those single sign-on users. If an employee is unable to remember their password, we want to make sure that they go through and you work with them. You tell them, hey, if you don't remember your information, go through the forgot password functionality in the app or on the website. When they go into that forgot password option, a reset link email will be sent. Once they select that reset link email option, if they already had a mobile number verified on their account, the mobile number will receive a verification code that will need to be entered in on the account reset screen. If they did not have a verified account mobile number on their account, then they would need to answer their security question. So they would see the security question and then they should be provided with the answer to that. Either way, when they put that information in and hit continue, they will get the account reset screen where it will allow them to put in a new password, confirm password. They could update or put in, if they didn't already have it, a mobile number in there, as well as changing or setting up their security question and answer information on here. And as I mentioned earlier, for the password information, this does not apply to single sign-on users. A few other things that we've found, and maybe this goes back to the question or the comment that was put in about the correct or incorrect. Oh, maybe there's a couple more pieces of information in chat that I'll come to. But we've seen where if a user had saved bookmarks or login or password credentials set up, that seemed to have caused some issues as well. And primarily the reason for that initially was the website that was being used, again, for putting in your login information and your password was being sent to cohere.ctrhcm.com or with the /cloud service at the end. Since the enforcement of MFA, multi-factor authentication, those now again get redirected to identity.myisolve.com. So we saw some issues there. In those particular cases, you want to delete and re-add the bookmark back in order for those new credentials, the new information on that platform to be used. If you have an employee, and this is anytime, this isn't just now with the MFA in there. If an employee or a user locks themselves out of the system, they're going to get a your account has been locked message. And that happens after 5 unsuccessful attempts with putting in your information. I've done it on my own system, thinking I'm typing in my password and I had the caps lock on. But in case of the self-service users, it will automatically unlock after 10 minutes, or you can go in as administrators to the general screen, and where it says self-service account locked, there would be a check mark in there. Just simply uncheck that and hit save, and that would allow you that employee to try logging back in again. iSolved uses browser cache and cookies, and it's a little different than cash like money and cookies with chocolate chips. It's a way to quickly allow settings to be saved so that it remember me on this device, or remember me so I don't have to put that verification code in. So in those particular cases, sometimes we've seen a need to clear a browser's cache and cookies. Again, whenever I send this out to you all, these are actual links. So when you select the link, it'll actually take you to a website that will give you some instruction on how to clear cache and cookies for Chrome, Edge. If a person is using Safari on their iOS device or Chrome on their Android device, those as well. If a self-service user had downloaded the app, sometimes also deleting the app from the device and then re-downloading it onto the device will help as well. So a couple questions in the chat that Jamie provided. So the cohere CTR per the slides is the incorrect website. The cohere.ctrhcm./cloud service is the correct website, was giving our employees issues. Okay, Jamie, it also depends on what your system is configured for access. So yes, it is possible that if you had your employees using adaptive, so the newer look where there used to be a kayaker on there, the cloud service allows them to gain access that way. If your system was not configured for certain access on the classic view, then it could have provided a problem as well. Another question, is the classic view going to go away? I do not anticipate the classic view going away at all for a few reasons. One, the classic view is what all of us, my CTR as well, when we're helping all of our clients, as well as administrators. That's going to stay there. What is eventually, I say eventually, and this is going to be a while, what eventually will happen is all the functionality that is available in Classic View for self-service users, so employees and supervisors or managers, that is something that will eventually all be built out into the adaptive view, the aee.myisolve.com. So eventually, and I don't have a timeline on that at all, there is a lot of functionality, but that is built into the Classic View for access by employees and supervisors and managers. So it will be a while. So I hope I answered your question, and I hope I answered, Jamie, your information as well. Debbie, can you please clarify, should admins be using the classic URL and employees use the adaptive URL or the app? So Debbie, absolutely, the classic view, the cohere.ctrhcm.com, is what should be used by administrators. The caveat to my next statement is, if your system is set up with the adaptive interface, then yes, your employees, your supervisors, managers should be using that cohere.ctrhcm.com/cloud service or the app. If there are functions that are not yet ported or available in the app, though, it is possible that they still might need to have access to the classic view. For example, for employees or managers that need to do occurrences or performance reviews, that if you're using the base performance functionality, then that still has to be accessed through Classic View. It is not yet available through the adaptive view. I hope I answered your question, Debbie. So Jamie, you have also put in here, everyone should be using adaptive, but when the MFA took place, that web address gave out employees account not found screen. I'll have to, okay, thank you, Debbie. Yeah, I think there were some small glitches, Jamie, with, and I think it was the website being redirected, and possibly, again, this, the bookmarks and everything that could have ultimately been the reasoning for that and saved information. But yeah, I think there were some account not founds happening originally. Let me check the question and answer from Rachel. An employee is having a problem logging in. Every time she tries to log in using the app, she needs to get a code to get in. We removed the authenticator, but it is still asking for the code. How can we fix that? So a few things with the code and the verification. So when the user, or when users are logging in, and this again affects you all, it's because you're a user in the system as well, there is on that screen, on that main screen, let me, do I have one? Do I have a screenshot? Let me, okay, so a few things. So when you're logging in, or the user's logging in, there is an option when they first put in their username that says, remember my username. Okay, so that's one thing. Once they put in their username, the next screen is going to ask them for their password and the verification code whenever they put their password in. On that verification code screen, it does say, remember me on this device. When that is selected, that means, based on the devices storing those cache and cookies that I mentioned, it will not ask you for, or it will not ask the person, the user, for that verification code within 12 hours. So for the next 12 hours, that verification code should not be requested. If you don't select that option, first it's going to ask you the next time you log in. If your browser is set up that it automatically deletes the cache and cookies, maybe that's something on your system, your IT group, or your if you're contracting IT work out, etc. If your browser clears cache, then it won't matter what you selected on that option because the cache is cleared. It doesn't remember that you selected that, even though it says remember. It's a little crazy, like with browsers and what things that they do and everything, but it's not stored back on the platform. It's stored on the device locally. Did that answer your question, Rachel, or Raquel? Sorry, not Rachel, or maybe it's Rachel. I'm not sure. And then if you know, or if there's a problem with that, just reach out to us. We'll work on seeing if that's a problem on the browser, or maybe the person's not doing it, or forgetting to hit that that option. You may also get a "this page isn't working" error. So in this particular case, and this is pretty easily reproducible, the system has an auto logout function. So if you don't use for inactivity, if you're not doing any activity on the page while you're going to other screens or anything like that, the system will automatically log you out. It shows, though, the login screen again. So if you're looking at it, you're like, oh, it logged me out. Okay, great. I just need to log back in. When you log back in, the system provides at that point, or could provide, a problem that says that page is having a problem. Page isn't working, and then you get frustrated. All you need to do is close that page that has the error on it, and then reopen another window, and that will allow you to log in. That one's more of an annoying thing. It happens to me quite a bit, especially if I'm working on something and I step away, or and I log back in. I get that, not all the time, but just a few times. Last but not least, if you're working with your employees and they don't remember their security question and answer, they didn't put a phone number on their account and verify that that's theirs, one of the last things that you can do to help your employee is simply, and we try to make sure that this is the last resort that you do, just not arbitrarily doing it. Go to the general screen, and you can use the option on the screen that says reset ESS login. So ESS is employee self-service. That will reset their account. You'll get a little notification that says it's going to make them put in their last 4 digits of their social as their as their verification code. I'm sorry, not verification code. I can't. I'm drawing a blank with what it's called right now, so I apologize. Their 4-digit code that they'll put in, and then they'll be able to reset, put in a new or security question and answer, put in their phone information, put in a password and confirmed password that has to be at least 12 characters, combination of uppercase and lowercase letters and special characters. If you still have issues, send that information to CTR. Get as much information as you can so that we can quickly help. Company name, the employee's first and last name, the email address that's being used for access. What are they accessing? Are they using the mobile app or accessing it from a website? what website are they using. So a lot of the same information that I've gone through with you already, what the issue is, and screenshots help so much in trying to help out. If we don't have a screenshot, we kind of don't really know exactly what could be the issue. It definitely helps to have the screenshots in there, though. Before I move on, I just wanted to see if there's any other questions or anything in regards to anything that I've covered as far as common login items. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't other issues that could arise that maybe have a little bit more intricacies to them, but those are the ones that are typical, the one that we've seen more as recurring themes. Okay. The next two areas that I'm going to kind of cover here, and I do have quick guides for you all as well, that will allow you to set up, or your employees, your self-service users. Again, this is something that you can do as well as users. I've set them up on my system as a user of the system as well. But you can use and set up what we call passwordless login functionality. And this is based on the device that you're using, that device's unlocking mechanisms. So for a Apple device, an iOS device, if that device has Face ID set up, then the employee can go ahead and use Face ID as for unlocking the device and logging them in. If it's an Android device, for example, very similar to what everything looks like once they get to the password screen, but in this case, it'll ask them to use their biometric or their phone, their touch, or even a PIN entry. Even if on a PC, you're using a browser, you're using a laptop, etc., there are options to set up passwordless login functionality on those devices. So a Windows Hello, for example, or some other external third-party key that could be used. You can also use another device's unlocking mechanism. So in any of these cases, once it's set up and the employee puts in their username information, they're going to come to the screen that says the password. So for example, here's an iPhone, here's an Android. It looks the same. There's no difference. They can type in their password, or they can hit this little icon that has a little person on it with a little key. When they do that, for example, on the iPhone, I had Face ID, and it says, okay, do you want to use Face ID to log in? You hit continue, it logs you in. I didn't have to put my password in. So that saves some time on employees. And it is a long password that you have to enter in. So if you set up the device to use Face ID, or in the case of Android, as you can see, I selected that little person with the key on it, and it says, okay, to unlock using your biometric, go ahead and use your touch, or I could have ultimately hit the use PIN and typed in the PIN that was used for unlocking my phone. If on your PC, for example, you can use a combination of these. So on my PC, when I logged in, it said, do you want to log in using a phone or tablet or your Windows key? When I selected use a phone or tablet, the next thing that it did, it shows me, or it shows you that scan this passkey from, or use this passkey from another device that already has an unlocking mechanism set up. So I scan that code with my phone that I have set up for the People Cloud app in order to unlock it using my Face ID. So I could do a combination. I used my phone to unlock my PC and to log into my PC. So those things can be done as well. Another option that is available, so with multi-factor, again, it's security. We want to make sure, and this is where the world is going, not just iSolved, any other app that you're using, any other, system that you're using, everybody's going to multi-factor, whether that's something you own, something that you know, something that you have. It's going that route. Security is absolutely a necessity in this world, and you're dealing with not only yourselves, but your employees, your supervisors, managers. You're viewing personal identifying information. So maybe it's not directly a social security number that that might be viewed. Maybe you don't have access to it, but maybe it's an employee's address or somebody's information. So that's information that we want to keep secure. That's the whole point of MFA and why things are the way they are. But a verification can be received using a third-party provider. So Google Authenticator, for example, Microsoft Authenticator, Authy, those are different authenticating apps. So besides having a text that could be used or an email that could be used, the employee, yourself, you can set up to use this third-party authenticator. So when you're logging in after you use the password list, for example, and if you need to put in that verification code, if you didn't have the remember me on this device selected, as you can see here, and it's past the 12 hours, that third-party authenticator, you would open that up, see that it's the 6-digit code in there, and it changes every 30 seconds, but you would put that code into the verification code and submit. So there's no texting, you don't have to email, it would just be used with that third-party app. I mentioned earlier about the iSolve People Cloud app, and it was officially released back in October, November timeframe of last year. What we want to make sure is if your employees had previously downloaded the website to their phone, first thing we want to do is make sure they delete that old link on their app. We don't want that link, that URL, to be out there. Then once they're done, then they simply go ahead and download the iSolve People Cloud app. Now this is it's a real app. It allows notifications to be sent and transmitted to the phone. Okay. As you can see, this is actually a screenshot of my phone with notifications that are flying in. You can see over here, I was doing some playing with it, but you opt in to get those notifications. Okay. You can allow them to be sent and transmitted. You can always go back into the settings for the app in order to enable those if you need to. There's also, if you're just looking at the app on your phone, there's a message number indicator. So that, in my case, 124 notifications, required documents to be reviewed. Those are showing. So again, it is a true app for use for your self-service employees, your supervisors, managers. It is the adaptive view of the system. So if your system is set up for that adaptive, you can allow your employees to use it, and they won't get I don't know who you are, you're not set up for adaptive, so you can use that. But if your system is not set up for adaptive, reach out to CTR. We will get that going for you. We'll get that configured so you can offer that as an option for your employees. The last thing that I wanted to let you all know of, the tax updates wizard that is available if you're doing onboarding within iSolved. Also, if you are doing and allowing your employees to update their withholdings, their tax withholdings, W-4 information. The change that was done is that the wizard itself now opens in a new browser window. So either if you're using a PC, pop-ups need to be enabled or allowed. If you're using your phone, you might get a notification that says, do you want to allow this window to be opened? Or you might get a red message that says you need to allow pop-ups. So either way, again, the pop-ups need to be enabled, or the user needs to say, allow that new window to be opened. It actually does open a new browser window. It's much better now, to be honest. The previous screen in Adaptive just kind of kept it all in one, and it was a little bit more difficult to scroll up and down to see the information. So it's definitely a positive change. Once the employee goes through, or the making changes, doing everything that they need to do, they'll get a notification that it's finished at the top of the screen, and they just simply need to go and close that browser and just go back to the previous window or the app in order to get back to that previous screen. Right. That's all that I wanted to go through with you. I hope this helped giving you some additional information. I do wanted to go through and make sure that all the rest of the questions and chat were answered. So there is a question from Mary. Yes, that's the most recent one. Okay. Mary asks, how do you prevent your employees from clocking in early from the parking lot using the app on their cell phones? So, Mary, there's a couple things that can be done for that. And what we can do is we can take a look at how your system is configured. But if you want to stop things like that, there is one thing that can be done with setting up specific IP addresses that would require that employee to be on your network in order to clock in or clock out. So we could limit what IP address or IP addresses or IP address ranges to stop those employees from doing that. Now, if your network, if they were on the network and it was still accessible in the parking lot, unfortunately, we would not be able to do it. We wouldn't be able to restrict it that way. There are other features such as geofencing, but we would have to put in a range that might still include that parking lot. I think we can probably start with, if you would like, getting into a IP address range. So if you want to reach out to your support rep to start looking at that, maybe that's something that would be can be leveraged at your organization. Hopefully that answered your question, Mary. Okay, so there was a question. It doesn't have who it belongs to. So the question is there a QR code for the employees to scan for the Authenticator app? So let me, if I can, start with the first thing is Authenticator apps. So the Authenticator apps, there's a lot of them. So it really just depends, first off, what they're using. If you wanted me to get a list of Authenticator apps, the most common ones, and provide a QR code that would direct them to that specific apps, so it can be downloaded from Google Play or the App Store for iOS, I can do that. The QR code that can be scanned, so the third-party authenticating function can be enabled on the device, it does do that when you're setting it up on the phone. So if the employee is setting up and say they want to enable third-party authentication, then the first screen that it provides is a QR code as well as a manually typable code that can be put in. I do have instructions on how to do that. And I gave an example of using Microsoft Authenticator. It really just depends on what third-party authenticating app the person wants to use. But we definitely have some of those. Does that answer your question to whomever unknown user is? Did I cover both scenarios? Because one is to be able to download a third-party authenticating app, and then the other is with that third-party authenticating app, how does it get set up? Okay, perfect. This person says yes, so thank you. Okay, I have this person saying we use Microsoft, so yes. Microsoft is one. I use Microsoft for 365. I also use Google Authenticator, so I have both set up on my phone. But I do have some quick guides with an example. Again, I can't provide all examples because there's different phones, there's different authenticating apps, but that should give us some information on how to do that. Are there any other questions or anything? No? Okay. Thank you all very much. We will get the recording and all of those documents that I mentioned out to you all. Anybody who registered will get that out, sent out. I hope it provided some information and to help your employees if they have any issues. And if you want, you can redistribute or send this out to employees as well. And I believe I'm going to try and have a webinar for just employees to kind of go through as well. So be expecting and seeing that coming out in the next few weeks or so. All right. All right. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.